Hi there, it's Nicole McGuirk for 2peasinAbucket.com, and this is the first in a year-long class called Scrapbook Stamping. And as you may have guessed from the title, this class is all about using stamps in your scrapbook layouts. The first thing for the layout for January, the lesson is all about simple stamping, adding words and phrases and maybe alphabet stamps, things like that for your titles, your subtitles, just to kind of help reinforce the theme of your page. And I didn't start out using those particular stamps. I'm going to show you first that I also stamped my embellishments. And it's real easy to do. As I got to working on my page and I had already kind of figured out what phrases I wanted to use, I decided that I also wanted to incorporate some stamped embellished accents. So I'm using the Hero Arts Enjoy the Seasons cling stamps, and it's a set of 3 snowflake cling stamps and a greeting, and I'm not using the greeting, but I am going to use all 3 sizes of the snowflakes. And I stamped this large one using a red ink I had already. I believe it's Cranberry by Close to My Heart, in case anybody is curious. And I stamped it and I punched it out with this 2 1/4 inch circle punch from EK Success. And after I did it, I realized I had punched off quite a bit of the snowflake, and I really didn't like that look. So the great thing about stamps is I didn't ruin my embellishment. I'm going to go ahead and ink it up again. Make sure I have that good coverage, and I'm going to stamp it again. And I am stamping everything on this grid paper. It was a scrap I had left over from another project. The grid is on the back of an Echo Park pattern paper, and it'll be listed in the supply list at 2peasinAbucket.com on this project. So I'm going to use the 2 1/2 inch punch instead. And that is a lot better. I like how that looks with a little bit of a white space around the snowflake. I'm going to ink up one of the other stamps, other snowflake stamps with a blue ink. This happens to be, I think, Pacific Point from Stampin' Up. It's just a nice royal blue ink, matches the papers I've chosen for my layout. And then I'm trying to decide which circle punch I want to use, and I ended up going back and using that 2 1/4 inch punch for this particular snowflake. I just couldn't decide. I was being a little indecisive there. I'm going to go ahead and use that, make sure I have it centered right in the middle of my punch, and punch it out. So it's real easy to create accents from your stamps. This is probably the simplest way, is to simply stamp it out and then punch out your stamped image. And my last one, I stamped with crushed curry ink from Stampin' Up and used a 1 3/4 inch circle punch to punch him out. Okay, here's kind of how my layout looks so far. I'd already die cut a title, and I had cut some paper strips and printed my photos, and I kind of just have everything laid out. I have not attached anything yet. So I'm going to pick out a stamp. All of these pieces on this particular Ali Edwards stamp are separate. The journaling, the little cursive remember, and then a tinier little border. Well, I've punched out this border from a yellow sheet of KI Memories paper using the postage edge border punch from Fiskars. And I want to add a little bit of stamping to this border. And I originally stamped it too close to the top. I'm going to zoom in here. So I'm going to come back to that in just 1 second. I figured I better decide my spacing. So I adhered that yellow strip to my blue pattern paper strip and adhered my title, my die cut title. Then I'm going to use There Is No Doubt and then the rest of the phrase from another Ali Edwards stamp set. I find that Ali stamp sets work fabulous for scrapbookers. A lot of the phrases can be used over and over. There's lots to choose from, and they work really nicely for scrapbook pages, which is something I'm very interested in. So I used the blue ink again that I used earlier, and I stamped the the longer phrase first. I apologize if this went out of frame when I stamped. I'll move it up here in a little bit. I wish I'd noticed that before I had finished the project. Next, I'm going to take the cursive, There Is No Doubt, also from the same stamp set, and stamp it with the same blue ink. So there you can see it all stamped, and it makes a fabulous subtitle for my die cut title. And it really adds to it. Where the die cut title looked really nice before, the stamping for the subtitle really brings it out. And sure, you could print it or something like that, but the stamping adds that nice homemade touch that I think really helps your layout stand out. I'm going back to that real teeny tiny little phrase that I had started earlier, and I'm using a brown ink. I believe this is the soft suede, also from Stampin' Up. You can use whatever ink you want. And I'm just going to repeat stamping this all the way across my punched border, and it creates a really nice texture to my page. It really helps dress it up and give it more visual interest, adds to the theme of the page, all of that good stuff. And where these are clear stamps that you use on clear blocks, it's very easy to see where you're stamping and get that lined up. So you can see what that looks like all stamped. Another thing I'd like to note is I am not using any black ink for this page. I'm using all colored ink. By doing that, it really helps your stamping blend in, match your page. Not always, but sometimes it's just nice to do kind of something more along these lines. I just stamped another stamp from Allie Edwards, and I am not using the whole thing. I trimmed that. It's going to just be a little tab that's going to stick out from one of the borders on my page. I really thought that was cute, the little capture the moment. So I'm going to adhere that underneath one of those little sewn borders. And it just adds a fun little embellishment, stamped embellishment to my layout. Finally, I'm going to add those stamped snowflakes to my page. And you can see how the layout is coming together. I have adhered my larger photos at the top. I've punched a little bit larger circles out of some coordinating pattern papers to mount the stamped snowflake circles on. And once I've done that, I'm also going to take a coordinating doodlebug button and sew that to the center. And then I'll just simply adhere all of my snowflake accents to my page. The last thing I'm going to do is take a little bit of American Crafts mix tape and adhere it to my photos and along the left edge of the page just as a fun little accent. So here you can see the page complete with all the stamping, subtitle, and the embellishment stamping. For more information, please visit 2 Peas in a Bucket on January 1st, 2011. Thanks for watching.